Hello, my name is Peyton West. I'm the assistant winemaker for Isabelle Meunier and Lavinia at the Carlton Winemaker Studio, and I'm here today talking digitally with Ed and Sue Barr, owners of Quintet Cellars, and we're going to be tasting two wines with them today that are featured in the Spring Wine Club shipment for the Carlton Winemaker Studios Club. The 2018 Materi Vineyard Chardonnay, which is in the Portfolio Club, and then the 2016 Lichtenwalter Pinot Noir. That's a long word. Lichtenwalter Vineyard Pinot Noir in the Diverse Club. And we'll start with the Chardonnay. But first, how are you guys doing?
We're doing great.
Great.
Good.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too, always. Are you guys drinking any fun wines during this crazy time?
We drink our own wine.
Perfect.
Those are the fun wines.
I like it. So before we dive right into the Chardonnay, which I'm very excited about and I really like, I wanted to ask you guys about Quintet and how it got started.
Go ahead.
It was a drunken night in Miami. We were all drinking wine. There were 5 of us. We're old friends from trading days back in New York and Chicago. And someone said, "Oh, you're moving to Oregon. You've got to taste the Pinot Noir out there. It's absolutely fabulous. That's all we drink now." So, being from California originally, and I had always wanted to be in the wine business since about the mid '80s.
Yeah.
We decided to get into it, and drinking the wine was fun, and we thought making it might be more fun.
Yeah.
The hard part, which I didn't understand at the time, was the making it's fun. The selling of it's the hard part.
Right. You can make the best wine in the whole world, but if you can't sell it, you're drinking it all by yourself.
Absolutely.
That's right.
That's the fun part.
That's the fun part.
Yeah, exactly. So then follow up on that question. As far as Quintet is concerned, what is kind of the purpose of Quintet? What, if you had to describe it to me quickly, what would it be?
If I had to describe Quintet to you, it would be to make a wine that was absolutely nuanced and very fabulous. And now we're going to take a commercial break at this point.
So you had a drunken night in Miami.
Yes.
You started Quintet, and the purpose of starting Quintet was to make the best wine possible, or what?
Yeah, well, absolutely. We didn't want to make an $18 bottle of wine. We wanted to shoot for the top.
Gotcha.
And when we got out to Oregon finally, we did not want to compete with California.
Right.
We knew that Washington State, which is a hot weather growing area, did that.
Right.
And, being from California, I thought the Pinot Noirs here were just incredible, and got right into it. And Sue and I got started with the Northwest Viticulture Center, and ultimately became a bonded winery, producing wine since 2012 at the Carlton Winemaker Studio.
That's awesome. And now you make this in collaboration with Anthony King as your winemaker, correct?
Well, Anthony King, has asked us to refer to him as our wine advisor.
Okay.
And,
wine advisor. I like it.
He is our wine advisor.
Okay.
Collaborative effort with Anthony.
Yes.
But Anthony has all the science. There's
Gotcha.
no doubt about it. We have all the bad ideas, and we rely on Anthony to sort those ideas out and produce the wine we're thinking about trying to make.
I don't think you give yourself enough credit. I've heard the way you guys talk. I think it's very much collaborative effort. So I beg to differ. But let's go ahead and dive in and try the Materi 2018 Chardonnay.
All right.
All right.
Sue gave me a short pour, so I'm just going to put a little bit more in the glass.
By the way, I really like the label.
Thank you.
I saw your first designs, I believe, back in 2012 at the Viticulture Center, and I loved it. But the crest, what's the four symbols? It looks like a bull, a bear. I'm assuming that's for the stock market. No?
Yeah, it actually reads 2 ways.
Okay.
For the partners,
yes.
It reads, you want me to hold it up? Or you have it?
Go ahead.
For the partners, it reads the bull and the bear and the battle for investment survival.
Gotcha.
But after having graduated from the viticulture school down in Salem. It's really the battle for balance.
So I tried these wines very briefly before we hopped on this phone call, and one of the things that stood out to me was the Chardonnay is somewhat aromatically, it's tropical. It's got some kind of like banana hints to it, and a little bit like candied banana, a little bit more round and kind of yellowed fruits. And then on the palate, I found it to be very fresh, and acidity is still preserved, which with Anthony King, you can expect that to always happen. He'll always have a great acid background for the wine. And I think that that allowed for more of like the peach and the fleshier fruits like nectarines, and just like to kind of come out of the background with the acidity still preserving it. And then of course you can expect like just a nice little touch of like oak support in the middle, which I think is nice in a Chardonnay. Would you guys agree?
We had all neutral barrels. It was 11 months in élevage, and it was fermented Cierlise, and it came out just great. It was our first try. First try.
Yeah, it's really nice. I mean, there's a good amount of lees contact. You can taste that on the wine. There's kind of almost like it's not texturally falling apart. I find wines that have too much lees contact to be a little gritty and a little too fleshy, a little too over the top. But I find this wine to be fresh, preserved, straight to the point. It's very nice. I like it a lot. So this site, the Materi site, is pretty high up, correct?
5,500 feet is the start, and then it flows down.
And it flows down. Okay, gotcha. And this is a younger site, right, that you guys got in on?
This is a younger site for the Chard.
The Chardonnay, yeah. And you said it was clone 76, correct?
Yes, it is. 76 clone, and it's fourth vintage, right? Fourth leaf?
Yeah.
Fourth leaf. They do.
All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and move on to the 2016 Lichtenwalter Pinot. If you guys want to join me.
Sure. Let us dump our glasses.
No worries. Okay, so 2016 Lichtenwalter Pinot. This is a really beautiful site. I had the pleasure of going to the site with Anthony in the middle of harvest, or actually right before you guys picked it. And Lichtenwalter, for those of you who don't know, I believe is Ribbon Ridge, and it's close to, it's very, very close to Tresadum. It's like right next door.
I mean, it's between Utopia and Tresadum.
Right, which is coveted ground. With
heirs below it.
Yeah. So great company. I mean, great neighbors. Beautiful site. And you guys get the very first like little benchmark. The way that vineyard goes down, there's like little sections that kind of staircase.
We're in the high Pomard section.
Yes, which is great. That's the place to be.
Yeah.
So when I first tried this wine, the second that I smelled it, I got just smoke, tobacco, like almost like hand-rolled cigar tobacco. Just very rich, dark, smoky aromatics, which I don't think is all from barrels. I think that might be more of a stem inclusion thing, maybe some kind of whole cluster element. Did you guys do whole cluster in this wine?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So I absolutely love that characteristic, and I was talking with Isabel about whole cluster fermentation a couple of weeks ago, and we were discussing those smoke characteristics are really hard to get without getting too herbaceous later on in the wine. And I find that you guys have done a really great job managing that, and I like how smoky it is.
Thank you. The only way that I was ever taught to make the decision on whole cluster was to chew the seeds.
Is that really?
And if they don't bite you back, then you can use it. If they're still green and they bite you back, you don't want to put it in because you get the herbaceous character. You've got to be able to chew the seeds in the vineyard while you're tasting the grapes, sampling the grapes, and at the same time, in terms of when to call the pick, you have to also take the skins
Yeah.
to mouth and see
Right.
how it spits out and if it's giving up color. However, you'll find most Ribbon Ridge wines have a similar characteristic, I think, to these wines.
Yeah.
It's hard to get a fruit-forward wine out of Ribbon Ridge, and we don't want a fruit-forward wine in this case.
Right.
So for us, it really works.
Do you also, when you bite into the seeds, I'm assuming usually when they don't bite back, they're not bitter and you're not getting too many astringent tannins. Are you also checking the
lignification of the stems?
Yeah.
Yes.
Check that at all?
We like to see it.
You like to see
Definitely
it?
like to see it.
It's fascinating. I mean, I'm a huge fan of whole cluster, and I love whole cluster wines when they're made correctly, which this one is. And I agree with you. That's a great technique, biting into the seeds. I also find it fascinating to put my head into a stem bin and smell what's coming off. And oftentimes it's clove, baking spices, cinnamon, nutmeg, allspice. And this kind of has that too.
It's tremendous that way. I agree with you 100%.
I think that this wine is the type of wine that starts to showcase and identify you as a brand. Like, to me, this wine is very, very, very unique. I won't ever smell another Pinot where I don't get that. If I get that aromatic out of another wine, I'll picture this label for some reason. So it's very identifiable to you guys. So I think that is kind of maybe almost like your signature in a way.
That's nice.
Wow, nice.
Like it's very you.
We love it. It's
Yeah.
a great wine. It came out exactly the way we would have envisioned.
Yeah. One of the things I wanted to ask you too is pretty passionate as far as your vineyard manager goes for Lichten Walter, Javier Marin.
Yes, Javier. We give him a credit on the label.
Which, just so everyone knows, that is not necessarily a common practice to put the vineyard manager or any of the vineyard crew's name on the back of the bottle. In all honesty, and quite frankly, it should be. They work the hardest in order to get us the best product we can possibly have to make great wine. And it all starts in the vineyard. And if we get bad products, then we have a harder time making great wine. And great, unique, beautiful Pinot Noirs like this do not get to this kind of class level without talent like that in the vineyard. So I admire both of you highly for crediting your vineyard manager on the back of this label. It's the right thing to do.
Our mantra is that great wine starts in the vineyard. Yes.
I completely agree. And this wine totally tells that story. What would you recommend as far as, do you have any recommendations for food for the Pinot Noir, for Lichten Walter?
Well, if Recipe was open right now and we were at Recipe, when Paul is serving things like some type of pork on those dishes he creates are fabulous. And in fact, he has the 16 on the list. That's awesome. And it's only getting better in bottle. We just tasted that right now. Yeah. And it's getting better all the time.
Yeah, it's outstanding. I agree with the pork comment. I actually think that this, because of its smokiness and its dark currant cherry capability and the acid, I think that you could almost do barbecue, like barbecue ribs, barbecue pulled pork, barbecued beef, which is not something I usually would recommend with Pinot Noir, but I think you could do that with this wine. I think you actually could you could pair it with smoked brisket if you wanted to. But I think that seafood would go really well with it because it is a ripe tropical style wine with acid.
Yeah, we definitely eat a lot of salmon with it.
We barbecue salmon.
Okay.
And that would have been my answer.
There you go.
Barbecued salmon.
Yeah.
All right. Great, guys. Well, hey, thank you so much for taking the time out of your super quarantine busy lives to chat with me. It's always a pleasure to see you both. I miss seeing you around the winery, but we'll get there soon enough, and we'll come out of all this hopefully in a positive light.
It's really great talking to you.
Yeah.
It is too. The wines are delicious. I'm going to enjoy them for the rest of the evening. So thank you guys so much.
We will too. In fact, maybe we won't wait till 5 o'clock.
There's no need to.
We already broke that rule, so we're good. See you guys.
See you later.
Thanks, Peyton.
Bye-bye.
Bye.